Those 3 torpedoes slid to the stern of the ship on our port side, so close that you couldn't look over the side and hardly see them.
800 yards ahead, another torpedo splashes as a Kate drops its payload. The captain orders a full right rudder as the torpedo closes in on the carrier. As the guilty plane pulls out of its release, all that stands in the way of escape is the old Chicago piano, the last of the antiquated 1.1-inch guns on Enterprise. Will it have the firepower to get the job done? The 1.1 roars into action. It's in a perfect spot to protect Enterprise one last time. It savages the enemy plane with a lethal dose of lead. For these sons of the Empire, the blazing Chicago piano is the last sight they'll ever see. The captain watches as the torpedo swims right past his ship, barely 100 feet away. It's another close call.
We evaded them all. That ship of ours could turn sharply. She'd lean way over, boy, you thought we were going over, but she could evade.
In all, Enterprise dodges 9 torpedoes in this single day of fighting. Back on USS Smith, the tin can sailors are in the midst of chaos. They have no idea that the blaze on the ship's bow is about to ignite a Japanese torpedo. October 26, 1942. USS Enterprise and her task force are in the fight of their lives near the Santa Cruz Islands. Just off the Enterprise's port side, destroyer escort USS Smith has just been hit by an enemy suicide plane and is engulfed by fire. But her sailors have no idea that a live torpedo is about to detonate. Flames and smoke engulf the bow and bridge as shrapnel flies across her decks. Smith is an inferno. Her bridge is evacuated as the damage control party struggles to battle the blaze. If the fire reaches the ready ammo supply, dozens more sailors might be killed by the explosion of hot ordnance. Her captain must act fast if he's going to save his battered ship. The inflamed destroyer is out of control, ready to be picked off by the next enemy plane or submarine. The captain of the Smith directs the ship right into the massive wake of battleship South Dakota. The spray that the giant ship sends up showers over the flames. Through smoke, fire, and a sea of shot and shell, the crew of USS Smith reclaimed their ship and rejoined the fight.
Well, it's actually pretty remarkable. Through all that confusion and the fire and the firefighting, you know, and just the human death toll in itself, they had to put all that behind them and focus on what they really needed to do, which, first of all, they had to save the ship before they could save themselves.
Despite the loss of nearly 60 men, the USS Smith continues to defend the Enterprise.
For the ship and the crew to focus on what was at hand and then just go right back to fighting tells a lot about their training, their discipline, and their overall American spirit.
The surviving gunners of USS Smith blast the hell out of the retreating airplanes. The Kate torpedo planes fail to get a solid hit on Enterprise. The surviving pilots pull out of the maelstrom of flak and make their escape.
They should have come 25 minutes earlier and coordinated their attack with the dive bombers. But, you know, the lucky little E, everything's turned out all right for us.
But the Kates have one final obstacle: Swede Vedasa, Flash Gordon, and the Wildcats of Fighting Squadron 10. The plane that Swede and Flash used to defend Enterprise is the F-4F Wildcat, a single-engine fighter. It's armed with as many as 6 50-caliber machine guns, capable of firing 1,400 rounds of ammo, and has a top speed of 320 miles per hour. From the cockpit of his Wildcat, Flash Gordon has witnessed the horrific attacks on Hornet and Enterprise. Now it's payback time. Gordon sees a torpedo plane coming back from Enterprise, but he's out of ammo. His only choice is to charge the enemy plane head on. It's a dangerous game of chicken. And it's the Japanese pilot that blinks first. Gordon drives the Japanese flyer right into the water.
So I claimed him without any ammo. Someone said, were you ever scared? I didn't know, I was just mad.
Since the suicide attack on USS Smith, Swede Vedasa has flown outside the umbrella of American flak. With only a few bursts left in the belts of his machine guns, he carefully picks his next target. Swede selects a torpedo plane flying low to the water and fires the very last of his ammunition. It's his 7th and final kill of the day, his 12th in the war. In 6 months of carrier air combat in the Pacific, he's already a double ace.
5 is an ace. It's tough enough to get 1. So for a pilot to go out and nab 7, it sounds like he's in the groove there.
In 1 hour of combat, the steady nerves of the men of Enterprise have been put to the test. Though battered and bleeding, the Big E is still afloat. It's a strange reality of war, but on a ship this large, fierce combat can be raging on deck, while for men like radar technician Roy Blood, assigned to stations deep within the ship, it's just the boredom of waiting. During a lull in battle, Blood offers his comrades an unusual treat.
And we're all lying on our bellies in the shop in various places, under workbenches and whatever, for protection. And I can remember saying, anybody care for a black olive? And there was no response. So I repeated it. I got a can of black olives. Anybody want some? Speak up. This warrant officer, Stewart, who was more or less in charge of our group, he said, Roy, he said, that's something the damnedest thing to say after a battle. Who could think of black olives at a time like that?
10 miles away, the painful ordeal aboard USS Hornet continues. She's already been savaged by direct hits with 550-pound bombs and 2 torpedoes, and she's dead in the water.
I couldn't count the number of bomb hits and torpedo hits she took, but she took a terrible beating. She was already listing very much to starboard. So and that's when our skipper decided that he would go and help Hornet.
Northampton has fought beside Hornet all morning. Now her role is one of rescue.
They dropped a towing wire to us. It's about a 2.5-inch steel towing wire.
The after gun mount on Northampton becomes a giant ball hitch. Amazingly, she begins to tow the massive carrier at an impressive 5 knots. Captain Mason is now certain that his ship can be saved. All he needs is time. But on Enterprise, Admiral Kincaid wrestles with what to do next. If the Japanese hit the Big E again, she may not make it, and the U.S. will have no more battle-ready carriers to take her place in the Pacific. Admiral Kincaid has 2 options. He can stay and continue the battle, risking Enterprise and the lives of everyone aboard, or he can abandon Hornet and head south to save his battered task force. Kincaid makes the painful decision to withdraw. Now the Big E must leave her sister, Hornet, to an uncertain fate.
Rather than continuing to leave the Enterprise, South Dakota, and all the other ships in the battle area, continuing to make them vulnerable to enemy air attack,